Hey, this is Nick from Nintendo Dads here. We got a code for Decay of Logos from our friends Rising Star Games, developed by Amplify. Big thanks to them for helping us help you figure out if this game should fly off the shelves or maybe just decay away. Okay, I couldn't help myself. So, what about Decay of Logos? Well, it's an action-adventure with a dash of RPG and a sprinkle of platformer. Decay has a feel of an open-world game, but really, when boiled down, it's pretty linear with many open areas to explore. These do come with nooks and crannies, and each has its own arcs, which is much like a mini Zelda dungeon, really. The fighting is done mostly up close with a handful of melee weapon choices. Ranged attack options exist, but their ammunition is precious, so you won't want to use them often. And then there is magic, which Decay of Logos calls Magicay. I guess just to confuse the user? I don't know. Maybe there's a reference there somewhere. Your options for Magicay is light, push, and more that I haven't gotten to yet, to be quite frank. The melee is done through two different strength attacks and a parry. It has a helpful targeting feature, much like Zelda, which allows it acts much like Zelda's, which allows you to dash out of the way of attacks. The biggest problem is your attacks seem to have some input lag, and this is a big problem. That lag made the parry action almost impossible for me to use. I just used the dash to avoid enemy attacks. It's time to mention your companion on this journey as well. You have a majestic elk, and that elk is absolutely horrible. It is by far the worst mount I've ever controlled in a video game, and I'm not being dramatic, I really literally feel that way. To ride your unrideable elk, you have to feed it Lulu berries. The best thing your elk offers is extra inventory in its harness. For real. I only use the elk when they force me to progress in the story. The save system is location-based in this game. These locations are called prayer spots and rest locations. One of the unique mechanisms in this game is that as you die or are hit in the game, your character loses some of her stats. The only way to gain these back is to sleep or rest at a spot. Bonus, you may be ambushed in the middle of the night. That's fun. This is an interesting concept, but in practice really doesn't work and maybe is just slightly confusing to me. When I'm dying the most is when I'm struggling the most in a video game. Many games at this instant try to help me. This game just smacks you down by cutting your stats every time you die. Really? Moving on to enemies. I'm 3 locations deep, but enemies to this point aren't all that varied. I can count about 6 or so unique enemies, including bosses. Speaking of bosses, you'll find your enemies to be pretty easy for the most part, but the bosses do have quite a difficulty spike. I had to grind a little just to get past the first one. Oh, well, let's just keep going. Speaking of grinding, the dash of RPG I spoke of above, well, in this game comes from the fact that as you kill enemies, you gain XP to level up your stats. They don't make gaining that XP really big. You don't see numbers flying or anything like that, or you gain so much. It kind of happens, I don't want to say the background, but really, yeah, the background. You can look and see what your XP is and what level you have to get to, or what you have to get to get to the next level. There's no skill tree or anything too deep, but your stats do increase as your level grows. The music, both background and sound effects, are fair to good, but nothing overly amazing. The graphics are weak, even in Switch standards. And when your character is in full run, the game does chug ever so slightly. The NPCs do have voiceover, and it's done pretty well. Decay of Logos is a competent video game. In places, the creator's ideas shine through, but it's dampened by large missteps in very important areas that make it really hard for me to recommend to play. I do want to note that I have not beaten this game. I have put about 7 to 10 hours of play into the game so far, and I will continue to play through it until I beat it. And if my opinion changes in any way, I will certainly let you guys know. But I wanted to get this out here now, because I know Decay of Logos is dropping on the Switch. Today, Thanksgiving, go eat a turkey and play Decay of Logos. Those two things don't go together very well, but whatever. For $20 USD. This is Nick from Nintendo Dads, signing out. See you later. Game over, folks.